What is going on, Alpha Hunters? It is a very magnificent, mellow market Monday. All right. Let's see what's kind of going on today. There are some things to talk about. Definitely some things to talk about. But the market seems like it's waiting for some very important information that we're going to get Tuesday morning. CPI and inflation data. And let's just quickly talk about what's coming this week. So we're gonna get the inflation stuff tomorrow morning. Core inflation, CPI, total CPI, PPI. Then Thursday morning, retail sales Thursday as well. Consumer sentiment survey there on Friday as well. Also some jobs data, the weekly job stuff that comes out every week. And the market seems like it's kind of just waiting. We had a little bit of a gap down here today on Monday. Not unexpected with kind of bearishness that we saw on Friday, especially right there at the end of the day. But we did gap down right around 0.25% here on the SPY. Traded down the first 40 minutes or so. And it's just, we just kind of been choppy throughout the day. We haven't really done a whole lot. Hasn't really done a whole lot. So, yeah, this is kind of the way it's going. I think once we get to tomorrow, we'll see what the market's reaction is. And we'll take it from there. Nice little gap down here, roughly a 30% gap down on the Qs. You can see it's just been choppy sideways throughout the day. Kind of interesting. It looks like kind of having what looks like it might be a little rollover, continuation lower pattern. We'll see where my line's at. There we go. Here's my lines. Yeah, maybe the 50 moving average is pushing it down here on the 5 minutes. So we'll see if we get some bearishness here over the next 2 hours. I wouldn't expect a whole lot of movement unless some people really think that they have like a clear insight to what inflation data would come in at tomorrow and what the market's reaction would be. So other than that, IWM, nice little gap down. Nice little pump there in the first 5 minutes, but it rolled over and it's been kind of the daily lows. Kind of this false breakout, we'll talk about that in the daily picture when we get back there. DIA, nice gap down, traded lower there the first hour. It's been kind of rising ever since. It's positive, so that's actually a good sign. The IWM is actually down 0.75%. The DIA is back to being positive. And that's the best performer out of these five here on the day. RSP, kind of the same thing. Quick pop there, rolled over first hour, and then steady climb here ever since. And it's back to positive. So, yeah, we're seeing, things are still getting bought. It's not a disaster out there. Tech's been a little bit lacking over the past week or so, but, you don't, you don't steam down the tracks forever. RSP, yeah, we obviously clearly held all-time highs for Friday's close. So we've been pulling back a little bit today. Maybe we just continue higher. It's getting kind of close to that 10 EMA. So maybe it makes sense that we're getting a little bit of the buy opportunity. Be careful, though, if we close this week on Friday below this line or the previous all-time high, as people might see that as a false breakout and might start to pile on the sell button. So, yeah, just something to be a little bit cautious of there. We'll talk about that if that happens. DIA, obviously nice gap down. It's been having these lower highs come in. Nice buy-up action today. It's broken through these 10 and 20s before, especially last week. So for now, I don't know. I kind of don't like it. Kind of just don't like it right now. I can see us having a quick sell down to the 50 EMA. Maybe here in this week, maybe next week. Just kind of a gut feel there. It's very difficult to trade on a gut feel. I wouldn't even highly recommend doing it. Stick to analytical. It's much easier to be consistent with your percentages and stuff like that. IWM. So yeah, the interesting thing here on the IWM, man, Friday, man. I mean, we clearly got over these levels. I was kind of talking about like the 208 to me was like you clearly want to see us get above that. Well, we got above it. We got all the way up to like 210.5 on Friday, and we just sold down, and we have pulled all the way back down to the 10 EMA today. It's kind of a tough one there. Doesn't. Yeah, I mean, you just want to see it hold these lines, the moving averages as it comes up on the daily. You don't want to see them break down. If we start to break those down, I mean, yeah, people are going to say that, yep, that was a false breakout. They're going to pile on. And the other thing that really kind of worries you about the market right now is, well, tech isn't. I mean, tech's not really pushing higher. Not like it was, last year to start this year, that kind of stuff. Like it's kind of mellowed out since January kind of ended. Since since January ended, it really hasn't. I mean, it's climbed bullish, but it's been kind of mellow. Hasn't really been all that great. You can see a nice little pullback today. It's stuck in between that 10 and 20 moving average there. Still just have the low of last week. That's basically the main point. And I think for the three preceding kind of ETFs, the RSP, the DIA, the IWM, if you see the Qs probably break down here, break that low of last week, you're probably just looking for a quick snap to the 50 EMA on all of them, if that's like their next spot, or maybe just pulling back maybe to the Qs previous all-time high around 409, 408.5, that kind of zone. So SPY has been holding a lot stronger as we've seen a little bit more of the broadening out of stocks performing well, and doesn't look too bad. Definitely doesn't look like it wants to break last week or the previous week's lows yet. Not even close. So we'll see what happens as the week goes on. If we get inflation data tomorrow, that's not what the market is expecting, then we might see a little bit more selling come in, and then that might start us a little bit more of that deeper pullback retest into that previous all-time high. Now, as far as that, I didn't even talk about this, but as far as the inflation rate, so we know on Friday we got a little bit higher uptick on unemployment, right? We got a little bit higher uptick on unemployment, went up 0.2%. So what you want to see, what the market doesn't want to see, is inflation actually go higher. It is not a good environment if you have unemployment and inflation rising together. That is not a good situation for the market, because that would basically say I don't think the Fed would be wanting to cut rates, and you have increasing unemployment, which then would probably spur on more unemployment. So I think the Fed, the market, they're going to want to see inflation drop. If it drops by 0.1%, I think the market's going to see that as a win. Right now, the forecast is calling for 3.1% year over year. Prior was 3.1%. So if it comes in at 3%, I think the market will take that as a win. As like, okay, unemployment ticked higher, but we also dropped on inflation. Those are things that are conducive to the Fed cutting rates eventually, right? Whether that's sometime in Q3, sometime in Q4, whatever. But you don't want to see, the market definitely not going to want to see inflation go higher. So if it comes in at 3.2, 3.3, the market, I mean, we might wake up tomorrow, or at least after the data, and the market might be down pretty good amount if that's to happen. If it comes in at 3.1%, I can see an initial pop, and I can see it getting sold off. But I would also be curious to see what the core number comes in at. But that's just kind of my take on it. If we come in lower than the forecast, I think the market would be very pleased with that, and probably get a pop initially, and still might even sell off, as I think the market wants to kind of retest lower. I think we probably will see some selling after a pop if that was to happen. If it comes in too high or it comes in higher than the forecast, probably the market just drops, and that's just how it goes. All right, take a look at that VIX. Let's see, VIX higher open. That's about normal. I wouldn't say for how much we gap down today. I wouldn't say that much of a gap up on the VIX is normal, but it kind of makes sense as we do get inflation data tomorrow. You'll probably see VIX probably drop off tomorrow, no matter what, even if the market kind of sells off, just because VIX is elevated because we get a catalyst tomorrow. The DXY US dollar index. Yeah, that huge lower wick that we threw in, huge Firefly Doji. Oh man, that is looking really good. I mean, yeah, this doesn't mean anything. Mostly you want to see that follow through back higher. That would be a little bit more indicative of, yeah, we're going higher. But we get a catalyst tomorrow. Inflation comes in high. You'll probably see the dollar bounce off that or climb higher. So it'd be curious to see if this just chops sideways here the next day or two, kind of like how it is today. That probably sets up pretty bearish, in my opinion. You're probably looking for the trade back lower to at least down to sub 101.5 area. GLD continues to climb higher, even though dollar is up. Gold looking good. 10-year yield. Yep, nice little basing pattern here. Kind of have a little bit of a morning star reversal. Not quite yet, but if we continue to climb towards the end of the day, which past couple hours been running higher here on yields, yeah, I mean we might continue to see it push higher. What's the 30-year yield doing? Not exactly bouncing super aggressive. Just kind of hanging in there. I'd imagine a lot of these will get very clear directions tomorrow. 10-2 inversion down a little bit, still kind of just in this little downward channel. It's kind of been in HYG bonds, kind of just chopping sideways, not really doing a whole lot. That Friday upper wick, false breakout, had a little bit of that continuation back down today, but it's not really doing too much right now. LQD kind of flat, TLT down a little bit, kind of flat, not really doing a whole lot. So yeah, as far as things going today, not too dramatic out there, even though you see the Q's down about 1/3%. All right, take a look at that sector rotation. We got materials leading the day. XLB actually up about 1%. Nice. Staples also up about 0.5%. Outperforming there pretty good. Energies, utilities, communications, financials outperforming, and discretionaries a little bit of outperformance there. Healthcare kind of in line with the market. Tech a little bit underperforming there. Real estate and industrials underperforming the most. Take out the gap. Let's see what we got today. Tech's actually been holding in there pretty good. Okay, I didn't think that would be the case, but tech outside of that gap down, having a decent day. XLK. Materials, communications, also doing pretty good intraday. Materials make sense because they are leading the day, so at least they've had some intraday buying as well. Financials, discretionaries, energies barely underperforming there. You got staples, healthcare, utilities, industrials, and real estate gotten hit today during the day. You can see that, yeah, real estate got hit pretty good there the first 45 minutes or so. So yeah, ouch. Let's talk about one stock real quick. That is Meta. This thing got hit pretty good this morning, and if you didn't hear, I'm not gonna say this is the total reason, but you can see it got hit pretty good on the open. Let's just go to extended hours. You can see, yeah, it was getting hit pretty good there pre-market. It wasn't too. It was a slightly negative up until that point. Really, kind of what happened is, if you didn't hear, Trump was on CNBC doing an interview this morning, a phone interview, and he kind of made some comments about TikTok in competition with Meta, and basically said, yeah, I mean, you want TikTok because then Meta's the only kind of social kind of platform out there. It wouldn't be the only one, but as far as like the large ones, I would maybe tend to agree with that, I guess. So he made some comments. Obviously, it Meta shareholders didn't take that too kindly, investors, and it kind of makes sense because I think right now he's looking to be winning the presidential election as we get into later this year. So Meta got hit a little bit on that, but I just kind of wanted to bring that up because Meta did get hit pretty good this morning. They're currently down 3 3/4. Since that bottom, how things have really worked. Since that bottom in October. All right. So since that bottom in October, this is how things have kind of performed. You see energies. I don't know what's going on with energies. I really don't. We can take a look at crude oil actually after this. I like they were performing with the market for like 4 days, and then it's just like boom, and it's just been sideways for energies ever since. I mean, just not doing a lot there. But jumping out to the early lead, tech out there with the early lead, and then real estate comes and takes them over. And real estate was kind of the top dog there for about a 2 month stretch or month and a half stretch there, and then tech comes back for a couple weeks, and then a lot of jostling, fighting for a top spot. Tech kind of maintains it for a couple more weeks. Financials kind of get up in the mix right now. Financials with how much tech dropped here over the past couple days. Financials kind of the best performing sector over the past 4 months ish, 4.5 months. So yeah, there you go.